"Don't sign that, ma'am," the deep, steady voice cut through the thick tension in the penthouse suite. Everyone turned toward the man standing in the doorway, tall, broad-shouldered, his dark green jacket hinting at years of service. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with a truth no one else in the room seemed ready to face. The billionaire sitting across the polished mahogany desk smirked, tapping his gold pen against a contract thick enough to choke a printer. "And who exactly are you to tell her that?" he asked, voice dripping with arrogance. But for the first time that day, his confident smirk faltered. The woman, Emily Harper, sat frozen. Her hands trembled above the dotted line. It was the final step before she signed away her late father's company to the man in the three-piece suit. She had been cornered for weeks, pressured, lied to, and manipulated into believing she had no other choice. She wasn't just losing a business. She was losing her father's dream, the thing he had built from the ground up before a sudden heart attack took him from her. And now, a stranger, this rugged, quiet man, had stepped in without invitation. The man stepped forward, boots silent on the carpet. "I'm the guy who knows exactly what's in that contract," he said. "And I'm the guy who knows you've been set up." Emily's eyes darted to him, confusion fighting with desperation. She had met him only once before, at a small coffee shop 3 days ago, when she had accidentally dropped her files and he'd helped her pick them up. He had been polite, kind, but otherwise unremarkable. She had no idea then that he'd be here now, interrupting the biggest mistake of her life. The billionaire leaned back, feigning boredom. "Oh, this is rich. Some war hero thinks he can walk in here and play savior. Miss Harper, you were about to make the best decision for your future. Don't let this, nobody derail you." The veteran's jaw tightened. His name was Jack Miller, former Special Forces, single father to a 7-year-old girl named Lily, and a man who had learned the hard way what greed looked like when it wore a friendly smile. He knew this billionaire's type. He'd fought for his country, but men like this one fought for nothing but their own pockets. Emily's voice cracked. "You don't understand. If I don't sign, I lose everything. My father's debts, the lawsuits," she trailed off, looking down at the paper like it was a lifeboat instead of an anchor. Jack moved closer, speaking low, his voice steady like someone who had been in firefights and knew the value of calm. "That's exactly what he wants you to believe. But I've seen the numbers. I've seen the trap. This contract doesn't save you, it strips you. Once you sign, you'll have no control, no shares, no vote. He's buying your silence." The billionaire shifted in his chair, his smirk less certain now. "This is nonsense." Jack's eyes didn't leave Emily's. "I served overseas for 15 years. I've seen lies dressed up as hope. I've seen promises that cost more than any debt could. I'm telling you now, the war you're in isn't in the courtroom. It's right here. And you're about to surrender without a fight." The room was so quiet you could hear the rain hitting the glass behind them. Emily's breathing quickened. Her mind was a storm of doubt, pain, and exhaustion. Jack could see it, the same look he had seen in soldiers about to give up. He leaned in just slightly, his voice almost a whisper. "I don't know your father, ma'am. But I know what it's like to have something worth fighting for. If you walk away from this, you can still rebuild. You can still honor him. But if you sign, it's over." Her hand trembled over the pen. The billionaire's voice turned sharp. "Sign it, Emily. Right now." But something in her broke free, a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. She set the pen down. "No," she said quietly, but firmly. The billionaire's face darkened, his polished control cracking. "You're making a mistake," he hissed. Jack stepped between them. "No. The mistake would have been letting you in." The meeting erupted after that, threats, lawyers, security, but Jack didn't flinch. He walked Emily out of that glass prison and into the cool night air. She was shaking, the reality of what she had just done sinking in. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you help me?" Jack glanced at her, then away, the neon lights reflecting in his eyes. "Because someone once told me not to sign something that would ruin me. I didn't listen. It cost me everything. I wasn't going to let it happen to you. Days turned into weeks. Emily discovered that Jack was right, the debts weren't as crushing as she had been told. The lawsuits were manageable with the right lawyer. And the billionaire? He wasn't used to losing, but he wouldn't be getting her company. In fact, she started to turn things around, rebuilding the brand her father loved so much. Jack stayed in touch, sometimes bringing Lily to visit her office. Emily learned that he had been raising his daughter alone since his wife passed away years ago. And Lily, bright-eyed and shy, adored Emily from the start. One evening, months later, Emily invited Jack and Lily to a company event, a charity gala her father had always hosted. As the night went on, she took the stage, her voice strong but filled with emotion. "I almost gave this away," she said, glancing toward Jack in the crowd. "But someone reminded me that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is say no. And sometimes, the right person walks into your life at the exact moment you need them." The audience applauded, but Jack just gave her that steady, quiet nod, the kind of acknowledgement only someone who's been through battles understands. Emily smiled back, her eyes shining. She didn't just save her company that day in the penthouse. She saved her own belief in herself. And maybe, just maybe, she had found something else worth fighting for. So, if you've ever been cornered, pressured, or told you have no way out, remember this: there's always a choice. And sometimes, the right voice at the right moment can change everything. If this story inspired you, hit that like button and subscribe for more powerful stories. You never know when the next one might just be the voice you need to hear. The night of the gala stayed in Emily's mind long after the music faded. She replayed the look on Jack's face, the way Lily had clung to her hand, shyly showing her the paper flower she had made earlier that day. Emily had been so focused on survival these past months that she hadn't realized how much she had started to care about the people who helped her through it. But storms weren't done with her yet. 2 weeks later, the billionaire she had defied, Victor Caro, struck back. He filed an injunction against her company, claiming she had used insider interference to break a legal agreement. It was a dirty move, the kind Jack had warned her about. The media twisted the headlines to make her look reckless. Shareholders panicked. Suppliers threatened to pull out. And worst of all, she received a letter saying that if the case went through, her company could be frozen entirely. She called Jack late that night, her voice breaking. "I can't fight him anymore. He's too powerful." On the other end of the line, Jack's voice was calm, the same calm that had steadied her in that penthouse. "Emily, the only fight you lose is the one you stop showing up for. I've gone up against worse than Caro. Trust me, he's not invincible. He's just loud." When she didn't answer, he added softly, "I'll be there in the morning." The next day, Jack walked into her office carrying an old leather binder. Inside were pages of research, financial records, and something else, photos of Victor's shady overseas deals. "I know a guy from my unit who's a forensic accountant. We've been digging." Emily's eyes widened as she scanned the evidence. "Jack, this is enough to ruin him." He gave a faint smile. "Only if you're willing to stand up in court and tell the truth." It wasn't an easy decision. The risk was huge. Victor had a small army of lawyers, and she knew they would tear her apart on the stand. But every time she hesitated, she thought of her father. He had faced bankruptcy twice, but never once had he chosen to lie or give in to bullies. The trial was brutal. Victor's attorneys tried to paint Emily as incompetent and Jack as a meddling ex-soldier with no business experience. They twisted their words, threw accusations, even tried to intimidate them during breaks. But Jack sat beside her every day, his quiet presence a constant reminder that she wasn't alone. Then came the turning point. Jack's old friend, the accountant, presented undeniable proof of Victor's fraudulent shell companies. The courtroom buzzed with whispers. For the first time since the trial began, Victor looked unsettled. By the end, the judge ruled in Emily's favor, dismissing Victor's claims and opening a new investigation into his business practices. Emily's company was safe, and Victor's empire began to crack under the weight of his own lies. After the verdict, Emily walked out into the sunlight, the air fresher than it had felt in months. Jack stood beside her, hands in his pockets, watching her smile. "You did it," he said quietly. "No," she replied, turning to face him.